Newswatch, I'm Sergeant Stephen Smith.
And I'm Crystal Park. The Army's top general in Iraq reports back to the President and Congress.
But first, here's a look at what's going on around the Army.
The traditional one shot per target on the range could soon come to an end for soldiers qualifying in basic rifle marksmanship. Basic combat training soldiers are testing a new BRM qualification at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. It combines elements soldiers will experience on the battlefield: movement, concealment, presence of civilians, and using multiple rounds on an enemy. Another twist is the use of dummy rounds. The rounds simulate a weapons jam, forcing the shooter to react to the weapon's malfunction. Officials say the change is to give soldiers a qualification standard that is more combat-focused, based on lessons learned in Iraq and Afghanistan.
The Screaming Eagles in Afghanistan. The 101st Airborne Division assumed authority of Regional Command East in Afghanistan from the 82nd Airborne Division in a transfer of authority ceremony. Speaking during the ceremony, the commander of the 101st praised the 82nd for their effective service during the previous 15 months in Afghanistan and promised to continue that mission.
259 service members from throughout Iraq met at the Al-Faw Palace at Camp Victory April 12th to become U.S. citizens. It was the largest overseas naturalization ceremony in U.S. history. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has naturalized more than 30,000 service members since the beginning of the War on Terrorism, and approximately 8,000 of the 700,000 citizens naturalized each year serve in the military.
Many would say that the men and women serving in Iraq are making a huge sacrifice. However, some of them are finding ways to give even more. Dozens of soldiers shaved their heads in support of the St. Baldrick's Foundation. The inaugural Camp Liberty head shaving raised money for pediatric cancer research. Events like this will help the foundation reach its goal of $17 million raised in 2008. Well, it's time to give a big Army hooah to the stations to bring Army Newswatch into your home, and especially to ECMC 16, the City Channel in Evanston, Illinois.
And WFK-TV channels 8 and 4, serving Fort Kent, Maine and surrounding townships. Thanks for watching.
Don't go away. The Army's top general in Iraq reports back to the President and Congress.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Specialist Geraldine Perez. Your vote gives you and your family members a way to influence how issues you care about are decided. Let your voice be heard. By casting your vote, it makes a difference. Remember, wherever you are, it's not too late to vote. If you have questions, see your voting assistance officer. Be smart. Do your part.
Hey, you want to make a difference and make new friends? Me? Try volunteering.
Are you into it?
Call 4-H or check out our website at areyouintoit.com.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
Significant but uneven security progress is how General David Petraeus assesses the situation in Iraq. The commander of multinational force Iraq returned to Capitol Hill earlier this month to testify to Congress.
A failed state in Iraq would pose serious consequences for the greater fight against al-Qaeda, for regional stability, for the already existing humanitarian crisis in Iraq, and for the efforts to counter malign Iranian influence.
Following General Petraeus' testimony, President Bush announced that starting this August, soldiers headed to Iraq and Afghanistan will deploy for only 12 months instead of the current 15.
These changes will be effective for those deploying after August 1st. We'll also ensure that Army units will have at least a year home for every year in the field. Our nation owes a special thanks to the soldiers and families who've supported this extended deployment. We owe a special thanks to all who served in the cause of freedom in Iraq.
Following the President's decision to return to a 12-month deployment, the Secretary, Chief of Staff, and Sergeant Major of the Army sent out a joint message. They noted that the policy change will help reduce the strain on soldiers and families as the Army continues to grow and restore balance. It will also give units time to properly reset and allow soldiers, families, and friends to reconnect. They closed with a grateful Army and nation thank you. To read the entire message, go to Army.mil. As security begins to improve in the Sunni-dominated parts of Iraq, soldiers are seeing a difference they view with cautious optimism. Gail McCabe reports.
The view in the southern belt of Baghdad is dramatically different than what soldiers saw just 6 months ago. In this part of Iraq, an area known as Zaidon, the scenery is still poor, but the setting is peaceful. Compared to his first tour, Sergeant First Class Troy Osment says the difference is huge.
OAF3, there was a lot of open fighting, what officers call kinetic ops, and now it's more just, I hate to use the word presence patrolling, but just going out and seeing what's going on.
Today, thanks to the surge and the emergence of concerned local citizens, the land belongs to the people.
CLCs, or concerned local citizens, have become the emerging shape and the backbone of Iraqi stability. Currently, there are some 70,000 CLCs throughout the country, and more are joining the ranks every day.
His name is Adnan. The locals call him the Wolf. Al-Qaeda, he says, was killing everyone, Sunni or Shia. They killed our sons and our families. The real benefit of CLCs is seen here in Zaidon village. People are on the streets, shops are open, business is good. The calm that lies over much of Iraq is viewed by many with cautious joy. Both Iraqis and coalition forces understand there are still many hurdles to overcome. Young men need jobs, and the enemy is still near.
When your family's starving, a guy's going to do what he's got to do to feed his family, and that Al-Qaeda money is right there. It's a lot, and it's easy to get.
Gail McCabe, Iraq.
Al-Quds Boys High School was one of the best college prep schools in Baghdad, but fighting between insurgents and coalition forces left it in tatters. With guidance and nearly $570,000 from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, a team of Iraqis completed renovations earlier this year. Kevin Casey reports from Baghdad.
Al-Quds Boys High School has taken a beating in this war. It serves 500 students in the Mansour neighborhood of central Baghdad.
Before the war, that was a very upscale neighborhood, is my understanding. And that school had a very good reputation. It was one of the better-known boys' schools, high schools in Baghdad. And, of course, during the war, during the fighting, it was occupied, I think, at various times by American forces and insurgents and suffered a lot of damage.
The windows were shattered and the doors were blown off. Even the blackboards came off the walls. After the rehabilitation, the school has become beautiful. Even the students have more desire to study and attend.
The renovation cost $570,000 and finished in January, 1 month ahead of schedule.
The project was conceived through the PRDC, the Provincial Reconstruction Development Committee. So it was basically Iraqi concept. Iraqis did the design, Iraqis supervised the construction, and other than the overall project oversight, here from the Corps of Engineers and the funding, it was mostly an Iraqi project, and I think that's the way we need to be going more and more.
Witnessing the project has inspired 17-year-old junior Mahmoud Kassar. He hopes his grades will earn him a spot in engineering college.
If I become an engineer, I will help to rebuild Iraq. I will repair the buildings the insurgents have damaged. With God's help, they will be good as new.
For the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I'm Kevin Casey.
Still to come, Fort Knox is bringing tank training to your backyard.
Don't go away. More of the stories that make America's Army are up next.
The Army will join the nation in celebrating Earth Day, April 22nd. We must recommit ourselves to sustaining the environment for a secure future. The Army community recognizes the importance of environmental stewardship. Together, we can assure our strength and a great Army family quality of life for generations to come. Army Green is Army Strong.
They're kind of cool.
Not really. Pretty annoying.
How'd you get them?
Shooting windows out with my BB gun, and next day these showed up.
I think it's bad karma. You gotta do something good. help out in the community, donate to charity.
Just been real busy, you know? Yeah.
Stay on the universe's good side. Volunteer, vote, get involved.
Our opponents today, Katie is 9 months pregnant, and Tammy's about 8.5. Balance could be an issue here, but both women are strong competitors, moving their feet quickly on top of the log, trying to dislodge their opponent with quick maneuvers. Western Red Cedar is very explosive.
Recent studies show babies who are breastfed are less likely to develop ear infections, respiratory illnesses, and diarrhea. Babies were born to be breastfed.
Welcome back. Fort Knox is bringing tank training to your backyard. Dave Anarino has the story.
The M1 Abrams tank. Such a machine of strength requires the right hands to power and maintain it.
The master gunner is the resident advisor. Basically, he's the subject matter expert.
And that expertise is learned at the Armor School in Fort Knox, where soldiers must travel to complete the 9-week course.
And so about 18 months ago, we had this concept of how could we take the training to them.
1, 2, 3.
And 18 months later, the $3 million solution is complete. A traveling classroom, so to speak, on wheels.
Times are changing, the world is changing, and the master gunner, of course, needed to change with it. So we realized that as we were moving into the future, we needed to bring contemporary science to our course.
Right now, the plan is to take it on the road about 4 times a year.
Inside, the trailer offers the same amenities as the resident course.
We have a series of training aids and devices, from cutaway ammunition to actual tank parts. Over here is an actual 120 millimeter smoothbore main gun cutaway, and we have the ability to recoil the gun tube so that a student will be able to see in slow motion what happens when a tank actually fires. This is a camera that we've had installed in both of our trailers. Now with this capability, we can move it to where we need it to look, or any piece on the gun tube or on a weapon system, and display it on a large screen.
That young NCO who returned from theater last month from Iraq or Afghanistan doesn't have to immediately pick up and leave his family for 3 months to go off to school and say, we're taking the school to him. And I just think this is a perfect example of us supporting the force.
Hawaii, although temperate and beautiful, is one of the most geographically remote locations on the planet. The Aloha State's position has significant military importance in regards to power projection platform. Mary Cochran tells us why.
Thousands of miles from the nearest continent is the U.S. Pacific Command.
And we have forces arrayed all around the Pacific Rim, from Alaska to Japan, Okinawa, soon to be in Guam. We're part of the largest area of responsibility in the world.
An area spanning 12 million miles of water, 5 time zones, and the international dateline.
And it's emerging as the economies in most of Asia, particularly in China, develop. They will become our largest trading partner into the future. It's also a very dispersed and diverse region with many ethnicities, many religions, many different political philosophies that run a complete spectrum.
A spectrum that plays a role in national security.
What we've been watching over the time, of course, that life has changed in places like India, East Timor, Pakistan, China, Indonesia, Japan, and especially North Korea. So the location is probably more important than it would have been in the 40s.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is supporting this power projection platform with $4 billion of construction through the year 2010.
You know, the Pacific is a region that's of key strategic importance, so everything we do here, to include what we work on Guam, what we work out on Kwajalein, it influences our security in the Pacific.
From this island paradise, the Pacific region stretches to include 50% of the world's surface. Mary Cochran, Hawaii.
The Army's strategy for the environment links 3 key elements of a long-range vision for sustaining the mission and securing the future. James Williams reports.
Army leaders believe sustainability relies on sound business and environmental practices that effectively promote the triple bottom line: mission, environment, and community. One critical aspect of the Army's sustainability program is training areas. Maintaining those directly affects the Army's ability to accomplish its mission
Keep going!
and remain combat ready.
But also, equally if not more important, to preserve the land and the natural resources, and to do it in a way that provides those training areas, those ranges, those drop zones, those landing zones, for future generations of American soldiers on which to train.
Soldiers at Fort Jackson were unable to train some days because of flooding, so the Environmental Division created ways to control water runoff and reduce Mother Nature's impact. Fort Jackson soldiers will no longer lose valuable training days, even after heavy rains. Another element of the triple bottom line is the environment. Installations use best practices to learn how best to implement programs, share knowledge, and transfer technology. According to Army officials, much of the sustainability movement relies on best practices at the grassroots level.
And what that means is that on the ground, it's finding best management practices or finding solutions to the concerns and the issues at a local installation tailored to that particular installation.
At Fort Drum, for example, they tailored cultural resources programs specifically for soldiers deploying to the Middle East. Mock cemeteries and decks of cards help soldiers learn about culturally sensitive areas. Fort Carson serves as a prime example of how Army installations can partner with local communities to save money and resources while being good neighbors. Fort Carson turned a former landfill site into a 12-acre solar array. It's the largest in the Army. The solar array generates about 2.3% of Fort Carson's annual energy consumption. It's enough to power about 540 homes a year.
So I think that gives you a pretty powerful image in terms of the things that we're doing, on the leading edge to try to harness renewable energy.
Fort Carson leased the land and locked into a flat utility rate for 17 years. Officials there believe they'll save the Army about $300,000 over that 17-year period. The solar array project assists Colorado's efforts to comply with a 2005 law that requires the state to use 10% of its energy from renewable sources by 2015 and 20% by 2020. Army leaders say the triple bottom line focuses on today's needs while anticipating tomorrow's challenges. James Williams, Washington.
Coming up, a Silver Star recipient tries to become the next Nashville star.
We'll be right back after this short break.
There's a lot of talk out on the street about his mother, your mother, their mother. But in the end, is anyone really even thinking about them?
If a natural disaster happened and we were outside the home, we would probably all meet, I'll say, around the grocery store,
We would all meet at a bus stop. That is our meeting place.
Well, we would probably just meet out in front of the house.
We'd probably meet at our neighbor's house.
If you have no plan, then you can just plan what to do as it happens.
What do you get when you cross a soprano with a cardiologist? Someone who'll sing their heart out. Just what they're doing at a local community theater. See, the Sopranos Choir and the Cardiologist Hospital contacted their community coalition and started a children's theater. They knew busy kids are less likely to try drugs. And that's music to everyone's ears. What can your group do? Contact your community coalition at helpyourcommunity.org. Because you get more
when you get together.
Welcome back. Calling all country music hopefuls, reality singing show Nashville Star held its first ever military-only casting call at Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines all came to show off their talent and hopefully be the next Nashville Star. Spirits were high at the first ever military-only casting call for the 6th season of Nashville Star. Held at Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia, the auditions were open to all branches of the military and Department of Defense employees and families. The auditorium where contestants anxiously waited was filled with music coming from all directions. One hopeful, Sergeant First Class Jamie Buckley, is no stranger to music. He tours around the country in support of the Army Recruiting Command. He's hoping for a chance at fame, but also to represent the Army.
Our soldiers are standing watch, guarding something that isn't free.
Just as anxious as the contestants were their supporters. Waiting was the hardest part. Watching those steps, hoping their loved ones would come down, advancing to the next round. Only a fraction made the cut, but everyone took it in stride.
It's all good. Nice, next time. It's always next time. Thanks.
Better news for Army Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Lunn.
I got myself a belt buckle and I'm one step closer to becoming a Nashville Star.
But he's not letting that get to his head.
Maybe, give this a shot and, see what happens. Worst case is I go back to the job I like, so, no harm.
The casting call meant a lot for military members who were grateful for the chance to showcase their talents.
I think that they're trying to show how important we still are, and that, there's many things that soldiers do. We go fight for our country, but on the other hand, there's more to us than just what, just fighting or just wearing this uniform. Whether they advanced to the next round or not, the auditions allowed all service members to come together and speak one language: music.
In addition to a major recording contract, this season's winner will also perform on a world stage at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China. One of the soldiers hoping to make it all the way to the top is Sergeant First Class Sean Bennett.
Sergeant Sean Bennett and his family surf his MySpace page, trying to relax in their hotel room. The big audition is just hours away.
I'm going to go screw up my own song or make my own song mine.
I'm stoked for him. I think it's a great opportunity.
Bennett has decided to perform a new original number for Nashville Star. It's still too painful to sing his song, Redneck Town.
I was trying to get a bass line for it, and I didn't even know Chisholm had played the drums at that point. And he was sitting there on the cot and just started beating the heck out of the cot. And I said, wow, that actually sounds good. And he said, yeah, I used to play.
Specialist Chisholm, Bennett's buddy and music critic, was killed in Iraq last year.
Some insurgents were actually wearing American uniforms and driving American SUVs, and had breached the compound through the Iraqi police and Iraqi Army. And they were on top of us, and it took about an hour to get control of the situation.
Bennett's actions during that hour earned him a Silver Star. He lost his left bicep during the firefight, but the injury gave him his big break. Bennett's Warrior Transition Unit got him a backstage pass to a Billy Ray Cyrus concert where he slipped him a demo CD.
He's got a lot of talent. He wrote a really good song. His performance was great, and I think his chances are good. He's going to get a real shot at it today, and that's kind of what this business is about.
Bennett made the most of his moment in the spotlight on the USS Iwo Jima, as his wife sang along with him.
I think the performance was nervous. A lot of wind blowing, but it was kind of what I expected. First time looking up and Billy Ray Cyrus standing beside me going, all right, it's all on you.
I think he did awesome. I think that he chose the right song to sing.
To find out if Sergeant Bennett or any of the military hopefuls made the final cut, catch the season premiere of Nashville Star, hosted by Billy Ray Cyrus on NBC June 9th. Jeannie Ryan, Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia.
It began around a campfire nearly 100 years ago, then later grew into a Broadway production and movie starring Ronald Reagan. This year, Soldiers Show celebrates 25 years of its modern-day program. Dave Anarino was invited to rehearsals and gives us a peek.
It's a dream they've always had. These soldiers are living the life.
Yeah, get to sing, dance, you know, I love it.
They come from the field of aviation, medicine, transportation, even infantry. 14 soldiers that find themselves center stage, traveling the world on a 6-month tour. A newfound fame.
I love me.
That is a humbling experience.
6 hours setup, hour-and-a-half performance, then a 4-hour teardown.
They learned that pretty quickly. No stars on any doors for this program.
Oh yeah, everybody back in my unit, they're all like, are you going to do some easy stuff and you're not doing no real work? When I called them and told them my schedule, they all just like, oh, okay, well, we'll see you when you get back.
The cast was chosen through a series of auditions. This year's theme, entertainment by the soldier, for the soldier.
It's kind of a give back for the Army to its soldiers and soldiers' family and their extended community.
We could be tired, but you know, we know it's all for a good cause. We know in the end it's to make sure that the show is as great as it can be.
It's going to be interesting. So there's a lot of quick changes, a lot of magic.
Everybody brings their own flavor, their own style.
As country, we got rock, we got R&B.
They're going to be amazed.
We are like brothers and sisters. We fight, we argue, we laugh. We do everything that a regular family does. We are dysfunctional.
Any live stage performance that you could see anywhere in the United States, you know, we hold ourselves to those standards.
And even though they may not consider themselves professional entertainers, they have no doubts that you will be entertained.
And I believe our show is going to be like one of the best.
Dave Anarino, Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Nice.
So you're going to try out next year, Steve?
Oh, yeah, right. Maybe if they let me try out my shower. That does it for this edition of Army News Watch.
Join us again next time for the stories that make America's Army.